At this point, there isn't a single person who hasn't given their 2 cents on any drama Colby Covington is involved in. His feud with Dustin Poirier is no different. Michael Bisping has recently commented on Poirier's "it's on site" remark. Let's get into what Bisping thinks of this whole ordeal and other UFC news that has been making rounds. First, we have Bisping's thoughts on the whole situation. Bisping weighed in on the ongoing beef between the former ATT teammates in a recent episode of the Believe You Me podcast. In the podcast, Bisping says that Poirier's words are big words, and for an individual like Poirier, if he isn't joking, these words hold some pretty serious connotations. Moreover, the former UFC fighter said that if he had heard those words from someone's mouth, he would expect an altercation or something far more serious to occur. He believes the beef between Poirier and Covington is personal. Following defeat to Khabib Nurmagomedov at UFC 242 back in 2019, Covington ridiculed Poirier for crying after his loss, after which Poirier made it abundantly clear to Covington that the next time they crossed paths at the American Top Team gym, their confrontation would be physical in nature. Moreover, Bisping thinks Poirier may have another shot at a title following a 4th fight against Conor McGregor. Alongside that, he says if Covington wants to fight Poirier, then he's going to have to fight top contenders. Next, Poirier moving weight classes to take on Covington. In order to take on Covington, Poirier could possibly move to welterweight. Poirier hinted at a potential move up to the welterweight division down the line following his loss to Charles Oliveira at UFC 269. He isn't too keen on going through rigorous weight cuts before fights and is contemplating a change in weight class, as he revealed in an appearance on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani. Poirier isn't sure of the future. He doesn't know if he'll ever make the cut to fight at 155 pounds again. Settling the beef with Covington will be a top priority for him if he does move to welterweight. Additionally, beating him could potentially open up the path to a future title shot at 170 pounds because Covington is a top contender in the division. Now, the possibility of Covington landing a rematch with Usman without fighting top contenders like Gilbert Burns, Leon Edwards, and Khamzat Chimaev. The former UFC middleweight champion Bisping asserted during the UFC 272 review for BT Sport that the chances of Covington bagging a rematch with Usman are bleak. He clarified that trashing Covington isn't his agenda. He admitted that he had a great win against Masvidal. However, he lost to Usman, and that if Colby wants to get another shot at the title, he needs to be fighting the top contenders. There's a whole roster of fighters in their prime and hungry for a fight. He believes Dana is open to the fight, but beating Poirier will by no means get him there. Emerging triumphant on both occasions, the number 1 ranked welterweight and Kamaru Usman have previously locked horns twice. Back in December 2019, in the main event at UFC 245, Usman finished Covington in the final frame of their clash. Subsequently, in November 2021, they headlined the UFC 268 card, in which Usman walked away with a unanimous decision win. Next, it's still on site for Poirier. Poirier has made it abundantly clear that despite turning down a fight against him, it's still on site whenever he crosses paths with Covington. Despite not agreeing to the welterweight's call-out, Poirier is certain he will put Covington in his place. The two have been trading insults even before UFC 272. In his post-fight press conference, he reiterated that he wants Poirier to be his next opponent and the clash is on site. Poirier, however, has suggested that Covington fight a welterweight contender instead. In a now-deleted tweet, the Louisiana native stressed that he will not let Covington take home a huge bag by fighting him in the UFC. The former lightweight title contender did, however, affirm that a square-off between the two outside the cage is still very much on. In an interview with MMA Fighting, Poirier recently addressed the issue once again. Covington could be a little desperate to get another crack at the welterweight belt, but fighting him is not the way to do it, according to Poirier. Covington mentioning Poirier is good marketing, in Poirier's opinion, but he refuses to respond to trash talk because that's not his style. Poirier has said he thinks it's cute, and it is what it is. He knows people want big fights, and Covington does too. Covington lost twice to the champ, so he probably needs a few more wins to be in line for a title shot, according to Poirier. According to him, Covington insistently calling him out has been working since he has people talking and keeping him relevant. Now, another UFC news. Pereira is ready to hit 2 birds with 1 stone. Last weekend in Las Vegas, fast-rising middleweight contender Alex Pereira captured his 5th straight victory and 2nd under the UFC banner by turning away fellow Brazilian bruiser Bruno Silva as part of the UFC Vegas 50 event in Las Vegas. Pereira is willing to settle for the next best thing because the performance he gave was not enough to earn him a crack at the 185-pound crown, and so a title eliminator bout opposite the number 2 ranked smashing machine against middleweight Jared Cannonier is the next best thing. At the UFC 50 Vegas post-fight press conference, Pereira said he talked about Cannonier because he's a guy that is next for a title shot. Plus, people have already talked about him and Israel Adesanya, so why can't he bring Cannonier into the mix? Pereira versus Cannonier would be a tough fight to sell unless Adesanya goes down with injury or faces some other type of unforeseen layoff. While speaking to MMA MMA Junkie, Pereira continued to say that he had 2 great fights in which he was able to showcase his skills, and that wasn't even his full capacity, especially considering everything he goes through during his daily basis training with Glover Teixeira's gym. He believes that he is improving and evolving every day. Next, Ankalaev gunning for a title shot. Last weekend in Las Vegas, by turning away longtime veteran Thiago Santos, Magomed Ankalaev captured his 8th straight victory in the UFC Vegas 50 main event. In the process, the streaking UFC light heavyweight contender managed to improve his record to 16-1. Moreover, this should be enough to catapult Ankalaev into the division's top 5. After the fight, Ankalaev said that in his opinion, he deserves a title shot next because he's on an 8-fight winning streak, and in some of those fights he finished his opponents, so he believes he is ready. He continued to say that when Smith was offered to fight Ankalaev, he was uninterested. Now the ship has sailed, and Ankalaev has had his sights set on a title shot. Smith claims he was fresh out of knee surgery and recovering from a staph infection when he was offered the fight, which is why he turned it down. However, he's healthy enough to fight now. He believes that the UFC and he have been waiting for this matchup to happen to see how it unfolds. He's ready for a fight in May or June and says he's been begging for a fight and is waiting to see how it all unfolds. Including last September's finish over the rough-and-tumble Ryan Spann in the UFC Vegas 37 main event, the 33-year-old Smith is currently ranked number 4 at 205 pounds, coming off 3 straight victories, all by way of knockout or submission. The fact that Ankalaev's victory over Santos was one of the most boring bouts of 2022 is working against Ankalaev, and probably not enough to secure a fight against the winner of Glover Teixeira versus Jiri Prochazka. The future of either Ankalaev or Smith has yet to be commented on by the organization. Lastly, Strickland isn't impressed with Roundtree. During the UFC Vegas 50 mixed martial arts event on Saturday night, UFC light heavyweight veteran Khalil Roundtree captured his 2nd straight victory by finishing Carl Roberson. At the UFC Vegas 50 post-fight press conference, the 32-year-old spoke candidly with reporters and at times struggled to keep his emotions in check. Roundtree said that everyone has their own battles, there's not an immediate switch flip, and it's a gradual change in the person. He believes that it's a constant progression and that there are millions of people out there who kind of need help in those steps, be it in terms of guidance or even reassurance. He ended his statement with a motivational message. Having previously shared a painful story about his father's murder, Roundtree's no stranger to expressing his emotions. This was something fans saw while he was competing on season 23 of The Ultimate Fighter, where he shared his story. Following that press conference, UFC middleweight contender Sean Strickland expressed that he was not impressed. He took to Twitter to make homophobic comments directed at Roundtree and was trash-talking about him. Strickland called him a PC beta male and saying nobody would like him and that being in the same room as him makes Strickland cringe. He continued by saying the fans have no concept of who this man is. What's more, they would hate him if they were ever to hang out with him for more than 60 seconds. He ended his tangent by saying the last time they sparred, he bloodied Roundtree up while laughing the entire time, and that was the last time Roundtree sparred with him. And that's all for now, folks, but we'll be back with more interesting videos. Signing off.